staring down some, we've all been there, right? Staring down some labyrinthine government website or stuck in a queue that feels way too long for something simple.
Yeah.
Or maybe just having that nagging feeling, how secure is my data really when I'm dealing with public services?
Absolutely. Or thinking about voting, maybe. Wondering if there's a truly transparent, foolproof way that could work.
Exactly. Is this really the best system we have?
And look, these aren't just like minor frustrations. They often point to a bigger challenge governments everywhere are facing. We live in this increasingly digital world, but we're often still relying on, frankly, outdated systems for really critical things.
Yeah.
Voting, public records, transparency. It breeds inefficiency.
And maybe erodes trust, right? If things feel clunky or opaque.
Precisely. It can make people question the institutions themselves.
Okay, so let's unpack this then. What if the answer isn't just, tweaking the edges, but something fundamentally different?
A complete overhaul, perhaps.
Yeah. Today, we're diving deep into a really interesting proposal. It comes from an article titled, Why Governments Can Run on XPR Network, written by Marshall Hayner, who's the CEO of Metallicus.
Oh, I saw that one.
And this source basically argues that this future of governance, it isn't some far-off dream. It suggests it's actually here now, running on blockchain.
And what's really striking about it, I think, is that it goes beyond just crypto or finance, which is where most people's heads go when they hear blockchain.
True.
Our mission in this deep dive is really to explore how the XPR network, with its specific features, claims it can replace those old, inefficient legacy systems.
Okay.
It proposes a kind of blockchain governance that they say is secure, transparent, and crucially tamper-proof. So we'll be looking closely at how they plan to build trust, accountability, and, real progress in public services.
So to guide us through, we're going to pull out some key concepts from the source. We'll definitely talk about decentralized identity, DD, the power of immutability, which is core to blockchain, and these big promises of efficiency and transparency.
Yeah, the fundamentals.
But also, we need to get into what makes XPR Network unique, according to them, things like built-in KYC, that's know your customer.
Right, built-in, that's important.
And on-chain voting. And maybe the most surprising part for some listeners, we'll touch on this detail about having no gas fees.
Which is, quite a claim in the blockchain world.
Definitely. So, get ready to maybe rethink how governments could actually function.
Sounds good.
So let's kick things off with that first one. Decentralized Identity, DID. The article really emphasizes this empowers citizens with secure, verifiable identities. Now, digital ID isn't totally new, but traditional systems often mean some central body holds all the keys, How does XPR Network's approach to DID change that, especially for things like, say, applying for a passport or accessing your health records?
That's a great question, and it hits on a really crucial distinction. Most of us deal with digital IDs linked to a central database government agency, maybe a big tech company.
Yeah.
And while they work, they create these huge targets for attackers, right? Massive honeypots of personal data, plus privacy concerns.
Okay.
What decentralized identity, especially on a network like XPR, claims to do is flip that script entirely. The individual gets much more control over their own credentials.
How so?
Well, your identity isn't just sitting on one big server. Instead, you hold cryptographic proofs of your identity secured on the blockchain. And you can choose to reveal only specific pieces of information when needed.
Okay. Like selective disclosure.
Exactly. So you could prove you're over 18 to buy alcohol, for example, without revealing your name or address. But the verification is still solid for regulatory needs. It's about giving the citizen self-sovereignty over their digital self.
That does sound like a big shift. Better privacy, maybe better security, by spreading the risk, avoiding those honeypots.
Potentially, yes.
And it connects directly to the next big concept, immutability. The source is emphatic here. It says, records cannot be tampered with. It even contrasts this with like a simple Discord vote that could be gamed, altered, or lost. But on XPR Network, they say every vote, every decision, and every identity can be verified, secured, and stored forever.
Forever is a long time.
Right. So for those who get the basic idea of blockchain immutability, what are the really profound implications if government records like land titles, court documents, election results become permanently unalterable? And I guess, what are the challenges if something is truly forever?
Yeah, forever definitely raises eyebrows, but it speaks to the core idea of public trust and historical integrity. If records are truly immutable, they are permanent, unchangeable once written.
Yeah.
This goes way beyond just preventing fraud on one transaction. Think about land registries. Disputes could plummet if ownership history is an incorruptible ledger. Or for laws and regulations. Every vote, every amendment becomes part of a permanent, auditable public record. Imagine the accountability that creates, even across different governments over time. No more, quietly tweaking the historical record.
But what about mistakes? You mentioned challenges. What if someone enters the wrong land, coordinates or misspells a name? If it's immutable, are you stuck with the error forever?
That's the critical question, right? And the answer is nuanced. While the entry itself is immutable, you can't erase it. The system can be designed to record corrections immutably, too.
Okay. So you add a new record.
Exactly. A new transaction would explicitly state, this previous entry ID number XYZ contained an error. This is the corrected information. The original mistake remains visible, but the chain transparently shows the correction.
I see. So the history is preserved, error and all, but the current state is accurate and verified.
Precisely. It maintains the integrity of the ledger, this immutable truth, as Metallicus calls it, while acknowledging human error can happen. Trust shifts from fallible institutions to this verifiable system.
Okay, that makes sense. It's about transparent correction, not deletion. And these ideas, secure identity, immutable records, they directly feed into the next promises. Efficiency and transparency.
Yeah, they're foundational.
The article lists them clearly. Efficiency. Governance processes become faster and more cost-effective. And transparency. Every decision is visible, auditable, and permanent. For anyone who's dealt with, let's be honest, the often slow pace of government bureaucracy.
We've all been there.
How does blockchain and XPR network, specifically according to the source, actually speed things up and cut costs, while also making everything more open to public view?
Well, the efficiency boost comes from a few places. Think about processes that currently involve shuffling papers between departments, manual checks, waiting times, like getting a business permit or maybe social benefit distribution.
Well, lots of steps.
On a blockchain, many of these steps can be automated using smart contracts. Rules are set, and once conditions are met, say, required documents are verified via DID, the next step executes automatically, instantly recorded.
So fewer intermediaries, less manual work.
Exactly. Less reconciliation, less redundant paperwork. That naturally makes things faster and cheaper.
Okay, that's the efficiency part. What about transparency? How does it become more visible?
Because fundamentally, a public blockchain is an open ledger. Not for your private data, obviously, but for the public actions and records themselves. Every validated government decision, every public fund allocation recorded on-chain is potentially visible to anyone who wants to look.
So citizens could theoretically track public spending or verify election results themselves.
That's the idea. It shifts the dynamic. Instead of relying on official reports released periodically, you could have near real-time visibility into certain government operations. This constant potential for scrutiny fosters trust, but it's also a powerful deterrent against, let's say, mismanagement or corruption.
It moves from trust us to verify yourself.
Pretty much. It encourages deeper civic engagement because the operational backbone is potentially right there to observe.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting, I think, because the article doesn't just talk about general blockchain benefits. It specifically highlights XPR Network as the only blockchain ecosystem with built-in KYC compliance and on-chain voting.
That's a key claim.
Now, for listeners familiar with the crypto space, that phrase built-in sounds significant, especially thinking about government use. Why is integrating KYC and voting directly into the network architecture potentially a big deal for public administration compared to other blockchains where you might need separate add-on solutions?
Yeah, built-in is absolutely critical here, especially for governments. See, most public blockchains were initially designed for anonymity or pseudonymity.
Right, like Bitcoin or early Ethereum.
Which is fine for some uses, but it's a major hurdle for governments. They need Know Your Customer KYC for regulations, anti-money laundering, making sure only eligible citizens are accessing services or voting. If KYC isn't built in, the government has to create these complex, often expensive, and potentially insecure systems off-chain to connect real-world identities to blockchain addresses. It adds layers of complexity and risk.
So built-in means it's part of the core infrastructure.
Exactly. The necessary identity verification mechanisms are designed to work seamlessly with the blockchain itself. This dramatically lowers the barrier for government adoption. It makes it much more practical and secure for things like verifying who gets public benefits or preventing someone from voting multiple times.
That makes a lot of sense. And what about the on-chain voting part being built in?
Well, that ties back directly to immutability and transparency. Conducting votes directly on the blockchain means every single cast vote is recorded, it's cryptographically secured, and becomes part of that permanent, auditable public ledger.
So no more arguments about lost ballots or recount irregularities, ideally?
That's the promise. It aims to eliminate common concerns about tampering or errors in the counting process, boosting confidence in the outcome of elections or public referendums. Having it built in just means the whole system, secure, auditable, verifiable voting is an inherent part of the network. Governments wouldn't need to bolt on a separate, potentially vulnerable voting system.
It simplifies implementation hugely.
It really does. It directly supports that idea. Metallicus talks about empowering nations and citizens with verifiable truth in these really essential public functions.
Okay, sticking with unique features.
Right.
Let's tackle the one that probably made some ears prick up. no gas fees.
Ah, yes, the holy grail for some blockchain users.
Right. We know most major networks, you pay a fee, gas for every transaction. It can be unpredictable, sometimes really expensive. How does XPR Network apparently achieve no gas fees, technically speaking? And what kind of impact could that have for governments and citizens using these services?
You're right, it's a big departure. Networks like Ethereum use gas fees mainly to pay miners or validators for processing transactions and securing the network, usually proof of work or standard proof of stake.
Okay.
XPR Network uses a different consensus mechanism called delegated proof of stake, or DPoS. In DPoS, token holders vote for a limited number of block producers who are responsible for validating transactions.
So fewer validators involved.
A defined set, yeah. And these block producers are typically rewarded through the network's own token inflation or other mechanisms, not primarily through per-transaction fees from users. This architectural choice allows them to offer zero gas fees to the end user. The cost is handled differently at the protocol level.
Okay, so the cost doesn't disappear. It's just not paid directly by the user per transaction.
Essentially, yes. But for the user experience, and especially for government applications, that's a potential game changer.
How so?
Well, imagine a national digital ID system or online voting. You could have millions of citizens performing small actions every day, verifying something, casting a ballot, checking a record.
Microtransactions, yeah.
Even tiny gas fees on each of those would add up incredibly fast. It could make the whole system prohibitively expensive for the government to run, or create a financial barrier for citizens trying to interact with essential services.
Right, you don't want people avoiding voting or accessing benefits because it costs them money each time.
Exactly. The no gas fees model removes that hurdle completely.
Yeah.
It makes large-scale public services on the blockchain far more economically viable for governments and truly accessible for all citizens without nickel and diming them for basic civic engagement. It ties into that Metallicus mission again, free the people by removing barriers.
That really does shift the perspective on scalability and accessibility for government use.
Yeah.
It makes it seem much more feasible.
It addresses a major practical obstacle.
So all these elements we've discussed, the DID, the immutability, the efficiency gains, the built-in KYC and voting, the lack of gas fees, they all seem to ladder up to this overarching mission stated in the article. Metallicus says, free the money, free the knowledge, free the people. And they connect this directly to democracy, saying, when we free knowledge and give people immutable truth, we unlock the full potential of democracy. We empower citizens. We empower nations. How do you see all the specific features tying into that grand vision?
Well, it's a powerful statement, and I think you can map it quite directly. Free the money clearly speaks to the efficiency and cost savings we talked about. Less waste in government processes, potentially freeing up public funds, maybe more equitable resource distribution.
Okay.
Free the knowledge is all about that transparency and immutable truth, making public records, government decisions, legislative actions permanently accessible and verifiable. Citizens become, active overseers, not just passive recipients of information because they can trust the data's integrity.
Right, the verify, don't just trust idea again.
Exactly. And free the people, I think, refers to that individual empowerment through things like decentralized identity, giving people control over their digital selves. And of course, enabling secure, verifiable participation in governance itself through on-chain voting, restoring faith in democratic mechanisms.
So the vision is really foundational change.
It seems to be. Building a base layer of trust and accountability that could fundamentally alter how democracies operate, making them potentially more transparent, efficient, and really centered around the citizen. The article makes a strong case that this isn't science fiction. It's something being built now.
So wrapping this up, what does this all mean for you listening in? We've really explored how the XPR network, based on Marshall Hayner's article, imagines a future where governance looks quite different.
Yeah, fundamentally different.
Imagine, public records that just cannot be secretly altered, where every major government decision is visible, auditable, permanent. We talked about decentralized identity, DID, potentially giving you a secure digital identity that you control, leading to more trust and accountability when you interact with services.
And looking at the bigger picture, the source really emphasizes XPR Network's claim of being unique as an ecosystem with that built-in KYC compliance and on-chain voting capability.
Key for government needs.
Absolutely. These aren't just add-ons. They're presented as core, integrated solutions for real government challenges in verifying identity and securing democratic processes. And let's not forget that detail, advanced blockchain, no gas fees. That could fundamentally change the economics and accessibility of it all.
Right.
It all ties back to that Metallicus mission, free the money, free the knowledge, free the people. It really paints a picture of empowering citizens and nations through this concept of immutable truth.
This deep dive definitely surfaces some really compelling, maybe even provocative ideas. The article confidently states the future of governance isn't on its way. It's already here.
A bold claim.
It is. But it leaves us, and you, our listener, with a pretty significant question to think about. If every vote you cast, every government record about you, every public decision could be instantly verified, permanently stored, and totally tamper-proof on a blockchain like XPR Network, what new opportunities might that create? But also, what unforeseen challenges could arise in our democracies, and how might it fundamentally change the way you engage with them?